to sell each individual person about why their job matters to the organization. Hey, why does it matter that the guy's picking up garbage outside?
That's the key word, is best. You don't have to knock the competition. Say, hey, we're the best because, and you tell people why. And then you live that philosophy.
Something extremely ordinary and make it extraordinary.
Yep.
Attach it to winning, attach it to performance, attach it to the success of other people, that you're not just sitting there doing one thing or doing this, you're helping people win.
Hey there, I'm Jeff Cordes, and welcome to the C.R.A.P Leadership Podcast. My philosophy is about C.R.A.P: caring, respect, appreciation, and praise.
And this is Randy Walensky. Been a speaker, trainer, sales professional, and coach for over 10 years, using all of Jeff's C.R.A.P. And we want to bring these principles to you in your organization. Let's jump in.
Welcome back, everyone. Jeff and Randy here on another Leading with C.R.A.P podcast. And we're talking today about the importance of having pride in your work.
Building pride in the workforce is tough. It's not easy. I always tell people, doing a lot of these things, it's simple, but it's not easy. But I want to give you a great example. I was on the road, traveling to an event, and my favorite stop to buy gas is Love's. I mean, I probably stopped at 70% of the Love's throughout the country. Well, I pull up, and I'm gassing my car up, and there's this guy in the parking lot, and he's got one of those little long extension hand things, and he's picking up trash in the parking lot, right? Normally they're the type of things that old people like me use in order to be able to reach stuff. But in this particular case, he's picking up all manner of trash. Well, he comes to a wrapper for a straw, and I'm thinking, how's this guy going to do this? But man, easy as you wouldn't believe. He picks this thing up and puts it in his bag. And I laughed. I said, I didn't think you were going to get that one. And so he and I started talking. I mean, I talk to everybody, right? I mean, when I'm elsewhere, I said, I've never seen anything like that. He said, I enjoy doing this. And I was like shocked. And it's kind of like cleaning urinals sort of thing, right? And he says, we just had the owners of Love's come here. And he said, we scored a 90 out of 80 out of 100. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, no, I mean, it was great because he said, we heard about it from the manager. We knew what we did made a difference. And he said, the fact that the manager, he says, I will tell you, he says, the manager will walk through the site. And if the manager sees the parking lot the way it should be, they tell me about it. Say, hey, parking lot looks great. He says, it makes me feel good. Feels like I made a difference. And so it gives me more pride in my work. So, part of it is appreciation, which we talk about: caring, respect, appreciation, and praise. So, I mean, I thought that was very interesting. I mean, everybody thinks you got to be in some super high level job in order to, feel good about what you do. I don't buy that for a minute.
Everybody can find pride in their work. Everybody can
Absolutely.
take what they're doing and apply themselves completely to it, invest in it, and make it their own and make it something really special. Even if it's just picking up trash outside of a gas station, right? You could see that as being low level and depressive and, I've got to do this because my stupid manager said that people are coming in and we've got to make it look good for them, right? That's one attitude you could have. Or you could have, we keep this place nice. This is a presentable, nice establishment. People recognize when we do a good job, and you start to well up and feel a sense of pride in the work you're doing, even if it's picking up trash or expertly pinching a wrapper from a straw. You could feel pride in that.
Well, and you think to yourself, you know what? When somebody stops at a Love's, they think, well, we're the best. We're the best stop out there, not Speedway, or any of the other stores.
Not
Love's
Buc-ee's?
is the best. Well, they're building the Buc-ee's right near me. So what can I say? I'll find out shortly. I mean, by the end of the year, I'll be able to go into Buc-ee's and see what they're like.
If
But
they take
anyway,
pride in their work, yes.
Yeah. Okay. But no, I think the other thing is managers have to make sure that they don't uh, micromanage people. We talk about this in crap leadership. They got to make sure they don't micromanage people because what that does is it sends the message you don't trust people and you just crush them. And if you
Mm,
crush them like that, they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to be contributing. And engagement is a huge part of having pride in your work. If your manager comes to you and says, "Hey, what do you think?" I mean, it's so simple,
hmm
and you've got ideas. Well, it says that your ideas and what you do matters, and that's huge. And the other thing I tell people, I do a module, as you know, Randy, we do a module called Essence of Leadership. But
hmm
then I also do Essence of a Great Employee. And I tell employees, look, I said, if you got a manager who's stifling you, you need to talk to that person
hmm
because a great employee, because oftentimes bosses don't know what they're doing. I mean, from a standpoint, they're not being incompetent. They're not aware that they're doing certain things that they shouldn't be doing. Well, as a great employee, you need to say, can I talk to you? And then you have that difficult conversation. When you do this, you make me feel like a dirtbag or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's that's the sort of thing that builds pride in yourself.
Well, and I would say most employees would not do that in most organizations because leadership hasn't empowered them to do that. There isn't a culture built around them of pride and excellence that even an employee can go to a manager. The manager will be open to receiving the feedback and everybody improves. That's rare, I would say, but it is what everybody should be looking to do, that you can have that two-way conversation and it's effective, right? Like, hey, when you say it to me this way, it doesn't motivate me, it makes me think this. And they could say, oh my goodness, that wasn't my intention. I was just this, or I wasn't thinking. And you have that open conversation and everybody gets better. That's also an engaged employee. If you get your employees helping coach up to upper
Yeah.
level management, that's a really good sign inside of your organization that you have a good culture already and you want to cultivate more of that.
The other thing I think about is from a pride perspective is you want to help your boss be successful. And you need to articulate that and to your boss and ask them, hey, what do I need to make you look good? What do I need to be doing? That's the thing that even if you have a boss who is questionable, when they hear that, they're thinking, wow, this is the sort of person I want on my team. And then the other thing I think about is winning, right? I mean, um, people love to win.
Hmm
No matter who they are. I don't, everybody says, well, I don't care about that. I don't buy that. I mean, if you are on a winning team and you as an employee or you as a boss create that winning team, people are going to want to come to work
hmm
because I don't know about you, but I love to win. I mean, and when I do my powerlifting, I mean, there's something, and even though it's just me, there's something special about winning. And I've got a coach, and when my coach, she gives me guidance, um, she feels great when I win,
hmm
and so it kind of feeds on itself. And when you got a winning team, people want to join the winning team. I mean, I've seen in organizations where um, people switch from one department to the next because that manager is a winner.
Mm.
So.
Absolutely. The other thing that it helps with when you have a winning culture and when you have a winning group of people and they have a standard and they take pride in each other's work and they take pride in the bigger purpose that they're doing as an organization, it weeds out anybody who's not on that same message or the low performers, the low contributors that didn't want to really be there to begin with. They'll naturally self-select themselves to be out, and or the people on their team will self-select and
Right.
push
Peer
those
pressure
people.
will be huge.
Yeah, so there's a lot of positive things about having that type of environment for your people where everybody's taking pride in it. And if someone doesn't have that, they don't want to put in that much effort to take pride in their work and they're just trying to collect a paycheck, they're going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to naturally leave. But with that, Jeff, let's give managers, leaders, a couple things that they can do if they're like, okay, great, I got to get pride. I could do a couple of these things. I could be more
Right.
open. I could improve. I could give some recognition. Let's put them all in order so they can say, all right, I can start doing that. And I think the first one that you and I talked about with this topic is getting people involved. Getting your people involved is crucial for to build pride within them because they start identifying that and seeing that in themselves when they got to contribute to the solution, when they got to have a voice.
Yeah, I mean, and I talk about this all the time giving your employees crap. And you talk about engagement. The simplest thing you can do is go up to an employee and say, hey, we got this problem. What do you think? And you would be surprised. I was initially, but I mean, and I'm not talking about uh, 5 years ago. I'm talking about in the 90s.
Mm.
I mean, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I mean, we would go to employees and say, what do you think? And you would be surprised the incredible ideas we would get. And people felt good about themselves. And then when they saw the solution implemented, they felt even better. And granted, you are going to get uh, some crazy things, you know, but then if they're crazy and they won't work, you need to explain to the employee why, or even sometimes try them. And then when they don't work, you say, well, look, we gave it a try. The other thing I tell people is don't ask unless you really want to listen to what people are saying. And sometimes you're
Mhm.
going to have to tell people, look, and I hate it when people say, oh, we tried this in the past, or we've always done it this way. That sort of stuff drove me crazy as an HR leader. No, maybe you did it a little bit differently. Maybe you put a different spin on it this time, whatever it is. But the simple um, act of asking is huge.
hmm Yeah, I noticed that as a game changer in my management career when working with people of that if I just told them what passed down, hand down, here's what corporate said to do, okay, get at it, orders are in, people wouldn't do it. And if they did, they do it against their will and they do it halfway at best. But if you got them involved and told them about it and explained it, one, you got all the objections, all the concerns, maybe all the things you didn't think about out on the table. You got more ideas. And then, like you said, if somebody came up with, well, what if we did it this way? You could either A, try that on a small scale. Hey, let's try that with a couple of the issues that come up. But let's
Right.
do that on the next issue that comes up. Let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work, they get to see it firsthand. But if you reject it in their mind, they're thinking, oh, that would have been the right solution. But no, you tried it, it worked, it didn't work, you get feedback. And then just again, giving them the floor and letting people contribute. They're just bought in. They're engaged. They're ready to contribute because it's again something that they thought of themselves. It's not something being pushed on them. It's something that they invited and were invited into the solution. So absolutely, that's a huge one. Okay, what's another point that we really talked about? So getting people involved is number one. Number two, leaders really need to sell the organization. I was telling Jeff
Absolutely.
about one of the first first job I had when I was 18 years old was I worked at Home Depot. And they used to always talk about how we had the best.
You're the cart boy.
I was a cart boy to start with, but I worked my way up right into garden and then right into special order millwork, over a short time. So started as from humble beginnings. But what they would always talk about is how we were better than all the other big box stores there. So you can picture all the other ones. We were better than
Sure.
them because we had better people, we had better policies, we had better programs, we had better training. Whether all of it was true would be debatable, and customers probably thought different things, but that's what we were told. So you had a sense of kind of pride that when you came to work, you were giving the customer the best that they could get out there. And that's what you believed in. And when you believe that and you carry yourself in a certain way, it never came with like a level of arrogance. And definitely, I would never badmouth another company to boost yourself up. That's just foolishness. But when you know that your product or what you're bringing to the table is the best it can possibly be and
That's the
better.
key word is best. You don't have to knock the competition. You say, hey, we're the best because, and you tell people why. And then you live that philosophy.
100%. And leaders are obligated to also be salespeople because they need to sell other people on the ideas. They need to sell each individual person about why their job matters to the organization. Hey, why does it matter that the guy's picking up garbage outside? That made our score this much higher because our parking lot was clean. Thank you so much. I don't know what his name is. We'll say Eric. Eric did a killer job getting it all prepped on the day before they came in. It looked spotless. That's
Right.
10% of our score. That's the reason we're better than all the other loves in the area, right? Because people, again, they love competition. I don't
Right.
care who anybody is. Like you said, people love games, they love competition. When you can make it a fun game like that to be the best, you're really winning. But they had to sell that that's important, that your job of picking up that straw makes a difference, or that straw wrapper makes a difference.
Yeah, well, and I'll give you a good example. And I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast, but I know we've talked about it in other venues. Is I worked for a sock company. I mean, not much glamorous about socks, right? But let me tell you something. When you're in a race and you've got poor socks and the heat and the moisture builds up, you get a hot spot, and that causes a blister, and you're not going to be able to run as well. Well, we made socks that were like high technology socks, and most of the people that competed in the Ironman, uh, they wore our socks,
Mm.
and so and again, what could be more boring than making socks, right? But we talked about the fact, and we actually had some marathoners and people would run and or competed in the Ironman come in and talk to them about how our socks made a difference. So we used to tell people, look, when you're making that sock, we're helping people win marathons.
Mm.
It's huge. And I don't, and again, a lot of people, runners in general wore our socks because you didn't get hot spots, you didn't get blisters, it enabled you to train better. So, and we talked about the fact that we're the best in the business.
Mm. It's so cool that you were able to connect something ordinary and mundane. Everybody's got them. Who cares? What does it matter? Something extremely ordinary and make it extraordinary.
Yep.
Attach it to winning, attach it to performance, attach it to the success of other people, that you're not just sitting there doing one thing or doing this, you're helping people win. That's a bigger purpose than making a good seam on a sock, right? Ooh, you did a good seam on that sock. Woohoo. No, no, you helped make that sock so it stayed together so they got to win an ultra grueling marathon. That's inspiring. That's something to
Yeah.
have pride in.
I mean, and again, it's a combination of things. And unfortunately, we tend to drop the ball on these little things that make a world of difference. I mean, and it's really about the small stuff. I mean, if you sweat the small stuff, the big stuff generally takes care of itself.
No, that's good. That's good, Jeff. All right, well, making our last point on this, just to make it crystal clear, and we've kind of went around this and said it in different ways, but I want to make it crystal clear for people. Having an organized, planned recognition and praise system built into your organization. Those are a big part of the giving employees C.R.A.P system is giving
It's about
people.
habits, building habits, and it's about It's about personal discipline. It's about leadership discipline. You know, again, as a power lifter, it's about discipline. I know how many times I need to get to the gym, and I know what I have to take from a standpoint of my body and my health. It's about discipline. A lot of times I don't feel like doing it. Well, leaders are the same way. Oftentimes you don't feel like doing it, but you got to be disciplined. You got to build those habits because those habits, once you build them, you're going to be unstoppable.
And you have to have the habit of regularly giving recognition to your people and being comfortable with giving recognition to your people. And recognition is simple as saying, "Hey, you got it done to me faster than I thought you would, that spreadsheet. Awesome job. The parking lot looks amazing when I left. That's great. The this area looks clean after we did all of our work instead of it being a friggin' disaster. Great job. Looks good. Keep up the good work." Those
Right.
are the type of things that you can instill in your leadership style to regularly give people recognition. Because when people recognize that somebody also is paying attention to their work, they pay more attention to their work.
Good
They
point.
take more
Very
pride
good point.
in getting that because they want to also receive that recognition. We're all here to get a good attaboy, a pat on the back, Pavlov's dog. We start salivating. We all
Yeah, we
want
just want to
to.
feel good about what we do.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we want to feel fulfilled.
yes. So you have to put recognition regularly into your conversation as a leader with your people, even for things that seem simple. Try to find an area to recognize because you'll get more of what you recognize and reinforce. And then when somebody really knocks it out of the park, then it's time to give them praise, which is distinctly different than recognition. Even though it seems very similar,
We should leave
praise
that one for another topic.
we could do a whole topic on how to praise
Yeah,
people, but just to
yeah,
give them
this
the
is some
cliff
crap.
notes, it's like it's recognition on steroids, right? It
Yeah.
praise is in front of other people. It's making a big deal. It's the type of thing almost that you would just short of handing somebody an award for being a rock star. That's what praise should feel like, and it should be a comfortable and normal thing to give people.
Yeah, absolutely. One last point, and what how are we looking on time, Randy? I mean,
Ah, we're fine. We got all the
okay,
time in the world.
well, I was watching a YouTube video, and it was talking about the difference between Army Rangers, SEALs, and Delta
Hmm.
force operators. And the interesting thing was, uh, very successful SEALs, successful Rangers, uh, and those people are elite. All of a sudden, uh, they apply to get in Delta. Only like 1 out of 100 will succeed. And what it is, they talked about the fact that uh, Delta Force has to be able to live with ambiguity
Hmm.
because of the nature of what they do. And what they said is in the Delta training is that people get no feedback. It may not be time limits. They don't tell them what the standards is. All that ambiguity, and that's what washes most people out. Well, we aren't training Delta Force
Not quite
people,
at that level.
but the opposite is you can't be ambiguous with your people. Ambiguous, yeah. You can't have ambiguity because people need to know that they're doing a good job, and when they do, they're going to perform far better than if they live in the world of ambiguity. And like I said, that's what washes most people out of being Delta operators.
How
It's
crazy.
fascinating.
How crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, and you think they're still humans, right? They're still humans, even though they're an elite fighting force. They're still humans, and that feeling of not knowing if what you're doing matters, not knowing if what you're doing is right, not knowing if you're on the right path or on the wrong path, that's very frustrating for most
it drives
people.
people crazy.
And that's an
And if it
easy way
drives
to,
people crazy, that tells me we have to do it in our workforce because we aren't training Delta operators.
yes, we're not,
All right.
but we still need to think of those things of that we can make it
Yeah.
easy for people to stick around and to stay because you don't want to lose good people because there's no clear direction, because there's no clear purpose, because they don't know right, wrong, or indifferent, and they're just there. Not only is
Right.
that like it's boring. It's like that's going to make people want to go somewhere else anyway because there's nothing to tell them and give them that sense of pride and recognition in themselves that they're doing a good job, and that's what people really want. So hey, that's a great connection point, Jeff. When you started that story, I was like, where is this going? And they actually nailed it. Nailed it.
I'm constantly learning, man. I mean, again, I found it fascinating as a United States Army veteran. Um, what was the difference? Because I never thought about it. Again, I was in the military, but it was very fascinating. But it speaks to exactly what we talk about crap: caring, respect, appreciation, and praise. You 99.9% of the people cannot deal with ambiguity. So you got to talk to them. You got to tell them. You got to get them engaged. You got to do all the things we've talked about in order to build that pride in the workforce.
Yeah, and just the last point on that, that's 99% of highly motivated, already engaged, determined people can't deal with it. Now imagine you just have an average worker who just showed up there and it's I don't know, the first month on the job. They're not
They'd quit in the
exactly
first week.
yeah,
They'd quit in the first week.
exactly. Yeah. So ambiguity kills it. Hey, we could do a whole topic on ambiguity too. Well, this is great, Jeff. We've talked about this, just the importance of having pride in your work and as a leader, instilling that pride of work in all of your employees, in all your managers, and having it kind of filter out through the whole organization. So it's the whole culture that is really taking pride in doing an excellent job at their job. Um,
Absolutely.
so anything else before we go? Anything else you want to add, Jeff, or should we wrap it up?
The only thing I want to say is remember, give your employees crap, caring, respect, appreciation, and praise. Why? Because
Because
crap
crap works.
works.
Oh, there we go, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. We'll see you next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye bye.